Atheist Nomads, episode 190, Embarrassed by Religious Experiences.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me as always is Wesley.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us is Lauren.
Hello! And Rocco!
And Rocco is barking again. Yep. Lauren gets excited and so does Rocco. How's everybody doing?
I'm excited.
I'm still a little sore, but pretty good. I spent the weekend moving. So, hooray.
Nice. Feeling better now?
Yes. Thank you.
Episode 200 is coming up here in 10 weeks, since this is episode 190.
Yay!
So we are going to be doing a 200-minute live stream.
Holy shit, that sounds long.
That sounds like really long.
We talked about that part first, but yeah, that's almost 3 hours.
Wow.
We did 12 before.
I know, it's so much, but anything is better than that.
Well, come on. I mean, our old first, 66, 7 episodes were all like 2.5 hours apiece, so.
Yeah. Which would be about 3.5 hours of recording. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally doable.
200-minute live show, May 20. We will figure out a time soon, so start planning ahead, listeners, and join for this. It will be fun. Be sure to have beer. It'll be on a Saturday, so you can have beer.
Yes, for those of you in Boise, it's the same weekend as the Russian Food Festival, so make sure you plan accordingly.
Buy your Russian pastries first, and then come listen to us.
And the Russian Food Festival is at the Russian Orthodox Church, so go to church and then watch the streamathon or contact us about maybe coming here and bringing beer here.
And food.
Yes, bring us food. Like pie. Happy belated Pie Day, everyone.
Yes, we are recording this on Pie Day.
And happy St. Patrick's Day for those of you who actually do something.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not that big of a fan of pierogies, but I love Polish pierogies.
Oh my god, they're so good.
Russian ones are usually baked. The ones that we do are boiled, and then anything that we have left over gets pan-fried.
Yes, pan-fried in butter. That's the way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Should we just do a food podcast? Wesley and I are going to run off. We're going to run off and do a food podcast.
We could do this. We can make it happen.
Totally.
I do want to apologize to all of you out there about my mistake last week. At least all of you on iOS. Looks like about 500 people were affected by the time I caught it. So what had happened was I forgot one step in my post-production process, truncating the silence. And
imagine, Wesley, all of our long, awkward pauses.
So I went ahead and I posted everything, and then as I was starting to close things down, I discovered, I'd missed that. So I fixed it, replaced the files, and I didn't notice that the OGG had become the master file by that point. So, oops, I found out about that Friday morning from Alf, and then I fixed it. And then I found out that it was still a problem from Travis, so it was Jonathan. And so I fixed it again. That time I went ahead and just deleted the entire episode and started over.
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
But one thing I have learned from this is I'm going to be handling it different, where the OGG will be completely separated out, and also for those of you listening on the OGG feed. And if you don't know what OGG or OGG Vorbis is, ignore the next couple seconds. Unless anybody specifically begs that we maintain it, it will be going away in 2 weeks. So this issue just won't be happening anyway. And there are a few people still on the old feed. If you have heard an episode and you've been subscribed, if you've been subscribed for several years, like since early 2013, and you have heard, no, not 2013, early 2014, and Yeah, check and see if there was a special file saying the feed has moved, because if so, you have 2 weeks as well. The old feeds are getting retired. The program running that is no longer being maintained, so it's a security risk. And I definitely want to get rid of security risk plugins. When I found out how long it's been since it's been maintained, I panicked a little.
It was like 5 years, wasn't
it? Almost 10.
Oh my god.
It was 5 years old when I started using it.
Oh shit. Okay, fair enough.
It was still in the WordPress plugin store then. It's not now.
Oh, WordPress.
So we're actually really lucky it didn't just break everything at some point. Yeah. I'm glad we're on Libsyn now. Anyway, let's go ahead and stop talking about doing shop talk and move on to dusting off the degree. And we're going to take a break from end time catastrophe because, well, it's a pain in the ass to... Yeah. So instead, I'm going to talk about something even more difficult to talk about. And that's the one part of my past religious experience that I am actually embarrassed to talk about.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I have no problem talking about my religious experience in general because it shows, there's a little bit of pride as an atheist of having been so devout as to study to be a pastor and go on to graduate school and to study to be a pastor and preach an evangelistic series and get all that debt. There's a little bit of pride saying, yes, I was that deep and I still got away.
Yeah.
I also have no problem with saying that I heard God tell me to study theology, because that one is very easy to explain away as I was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and I was still recovering from a poisonous spider bite. I had an infection in my foot and pneumonia.
You were delusional.
And I was on very, very high doses of antibiotics and had been for several weeks by that point.
But you were looking for a direction and your mind gave you one.
It's perfectly understandable, and it's amazing that I wasn't actually hallucinating at that point, considering everything I was going through right then. I was the sickest I have ever been in my life, and when you're trying to make big life decisions while very sick, and you have deadlines to make those decisions, that definitely puts on some pressure. The part I don't like to talk about is the fact that starting it was probably late my freshman year of college, when I would pray, God would answer. Started off kind of just those wishy-washy impressions, and then a voice in my head that would actually answer back. And that continued on for years. I think it was at its strongest my sophomore year of college. And I was very, very lonely. So that could have been a factor.
I just have to ask one question, then I'll leave it alone. Did God sound like Charlton Heston?
No.
Okay.
The voice.
I'm not being entirely jokey about that either.
No, the voice. It was a voice in my head that sounded more like my voice, but not my conscious train of thought.
Okay.
And I was even embarrassed of this as a believer, because you tell people God talks back to you, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And that's even in a church that believes that we are in the end days, and one of the signs of the end days is the gift of prophecy, and that many, many, many people, especially the young, will be prophets. Just not now. No, that's down the road. That's down the road. And growing up hearing people talking about God answering their prayers, it was always with feelings and impressions, not words. Although you'd get pastors who would talk and everybody just assume it was rhetorical, that they would ask God questions and God would answer. Everybody always just assumed that's rhetorical. Or not rhetorical, metaphorical. Not really Not that God actually answered. And so, when my doubts would get stronger, that voice would go away. And then when I would resolve my doubts, it would come back. So by my senior year of college, when my doubts were getting really strong, that voice wasn't there very much, but it would come back. And then I got to the seminary, and it was gone.
Really?
Completely gone. I've talked about how the seminary, my year there was the worst in my life. It was incredibly a brutal, painful process. One of the most painful parts of it was the fact that my best friend abandoned me.
Really? Is that related?
This is what...
The doubts were already there. No, but my best friend, God.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I even did a 36-hour fast and spent every moment I could between classes in the chapel and the seminary begging God to come back to me.
Wow.
That actually ended up... And, through that process, I didn't stop praying. I didn't stop begging for my faith to be restored. And it finally reached the point towards the end where the doubts were getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and my faith was completely gone. And the one thing that was holding back my faith, not holding back my faith, but holding back the doubts, was the fact that I communed with God. So obviously there must be a God. And I wasn't ready to call all of that delusion. That original sense of calling. Yes, I could that's easy to call a delusion. The rest I wasn't ready to call a delusion because, well, that sounds crazy. That you talk to God and God answers, that's crazy.
I mean, no offense, but as somebody who was raised atheist, I always assumed everybody did that. That all religious people kind of had an inner monologue with God, that God told them what they wanted to hear. And so for this to be the most embarrassing story of yours, I'm just like, par for the course. Whatever.
I always saw a lot of people talk with God. Depends on their brand of Christianity, but basically almost none of them thought that he talked back. Mm-hmm. They might give a sign, whatever the sign might be.
Yeah, and Adventists, as crazy as they are on so many things, are very skeptical. And so, if you say God's talking to you, you're going to get a very skeptical eye, and justifiably so.
And I think you kind of hit it when you said you were lonely. I mean, lonely people do desperate things to stay sane. I did something similar when I was in high school. It just...
Yeah.
The brain works in mysterious ways.
Well, and what's funny was in the seminary, I finally had friends. So I wasn't lonely.
But you had doubts.
But I had doubts. And I had also previously noticed that as the doubts got stronger, the voice got quieter. And so it left me in the position there towards the end where, some of those final times of, especially in when I was in Jordan, when I went to Jerusalem, and when I was preaching in Mexico, where I would, I was... begging very, very hard for God to restore, not only restore my faith, but to come back, to give me back what I'd had. And
that's harsh.
I eventually, at the end, kind of one of the conclusions I came to, and there was the theological issues that I had, but there was also the point that if God was real and had the plan for me to be a part of spreading his message in the end days, then he fucked it up. It was all him. he shouldn't have abandoned me and shouldn't have let my doubts run wild.
God wanted you to be an atheist.
Which is what my mom thinks.
Aw, Mom is so sweet.
It's all part of the plan that eventually I'll come back.
Oh. She's so adorable.
So at the end, yeah, I was angry. Not just about the debt and having a pretty worthless degree, but...
You should be angry about the debt.
I was angry about how much I believed and needed to believe for my own sanity. When I finally accepted that, nope, the more likely solution to all of it, the most likely answer is that it was just delusions. Like, okay.
Damn.
That's some heavy shit there.
So, yeah.
So glad I didn't go through any of that. Oh, my God.
Ah, man, I'm feeling a little emotional again.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. There's people out there who...
Have some beer.
Yeah,
I am.
I'm sure there are people out there who have gone through the exact same thing and to this day, just like, no, I was crazy. I was delusional. I was insane. Knowing that other people have gone through the same thing, it's a little less crazy and more just coping.
Like, the God delusion is... There's a lot of...
A book?
Yes, it's a book, but there's a lot of points in it that where you can argue. In particular, the fact that it is focused specifically on evangelical Christianity. But that is an area where you're very likely to get delusional thoughts like I had. And yeah, calling it a delusion, pretty accurate.
But I never thought of Seventh-day as evangelical.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah. They're... When... in the 1950s, when they tried to make themselves more orthodox and more mainstream,
they want to hang out with the cool kids.
They wanted to not get.
They didn't want to get beat up in the playground.
Yeah, pretty much. They then very clearly moved over to the evangelical side, and actually, in recent years, were in talks with joining the. It was an American Conference of Evangelicals.
Holy shit.
In the end, the Adventist Church decided against it.
Yay!
Well, good, but kind of scary that it got that far.
Yeah, they were in talks of joining that group, and yeah.
You're not as shitty as before. Okay.
No. The reason for not joining wasn't because they weren't in good alignment with evangelicals. It was because them joining with other Christians would be them joining with apostates, and that would be bad.
Oh, so they're still shitheads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take a break and then talk more about what evangelicals think.
Yay.
Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by Archway Hosting. Check out their low-price, full-featured hosting solutions at archwayhosting.com. That's ARCHWAY hosting.com.
Hey, we're also brought to you by listeners just like you. Find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/atheist nomads. That's patreon.com/atheist nomads.
If you ask the average American, 2/3 will say that Muslims face more discrimination than Christians in the U.S.
Duh.
And 1/3 will say that Christians are more discriminated against. White mainline Protestants and white Catholics are a few points behind the average on saying both that Christians and Muslims face a lot of discrimination. Among non-white Protestants and the unaffiliated, the view that Muslims face lots of discrimination is over the 3/4 mark. Now, of course, non-white Protestants are more likely to think Christians face discrimination than white mainline Protestants, white Catholics, and the unaffiliated, but that's beside the point. They definitely think Muslims face a lot of discrimination. The one group that doesn't fit with all the rest of these is white evangelicals, among whom 57% think Christians face lots of discrimination, and only 44% think that Muslims do. That's right.
Wow.
White evangelicals are just about the only ones who think they are the ones being discriminated against.
They do have a complex, though. I mean, that whole persecution complex.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this just feeds right into it. I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised
Oh,
either, but at the
crap.
same time, I'm really disappointed. It's like, come on, people. Come on.
Well, Jesus did say that his followers would be persecuted.
And that's why they're loving
Yeah.
it. They love that they're persecuted.
And
Sure.
oh, I
They
remember
love
seeing
to be
that,
the victim.
I remember seeing it in the Adventist church
Yeah.
as a kid, where any sign of persecution they would jump on, and any opportunity to try to make it look like they specifically or Christians in general are getting persecuted, they loved. It's insane.
But doesn't everybody always feel like they are being discriminated against?
Yes.
Like, as an atheist, I'm like, okay, yeah, atheists are definitely discriminated against. I think Muslims have it slightly worse off right now.
Right
Debatable,
now,
but
I would say right
in
now,
this country,
definitely.
Yeah. I would give, but isn't that generally how everybody kind of feels? Everybody feels like they're the victim.
to a certain extent.
Or is it
but,
just that
you know,
these guys aren't willing to accept that Muslims have it harder than them that makes them the outlier?
Well, one that whole persecution complex really is a real thing, and they are always on the lookout for that. So that really does play into the way they see themselves, because that is part of their identity, first of all.
Yeah.
Second, after that, yeah, they really are just looking out for number one, and they really couldn't care about anybody else in a lot of cases. So that's just kind of par for course.
Yeah, like if you look at it, whenever feminists talk, there are men who start freaking out that they're getting persecuted.
Yeah, that's why everybody does that whole not all men bullshit.
Yeah, whenever women's rights actually gets a win, men feel persecuted.
Happy belated International Women's Day.
And
Yay.
the same happens when racial minorities get a win. There are a lot of whites who feel like they lost.
And not all whites.
And
That's stupid bullshit, too.
but there is the basic level of, yes, you will always feel like everybody else has it better. Because
the grass is always greener.
Yeah, you always see the benefits that other people have, but you don't see their challenges. And you don't see the benefits you have, you only see your own challenges.
Yeah. I mean, you're used to what you have already.
I'm
But when you
challenged.
look on the
I
other
get
side of
that.
the fence, yeah.
But yeah, white evangelical Protestants take that and add to it a need to be persecuted.
So it just, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's icky. It's an icky way of living.
Yeah, so speaking of Muslims getting discriminated, Wesley.
Oh, yeah. Well, what can you say? Yeah. So there's a Muslim high school student that's basically banned from basketball. It's junior Janan Hayes. She's a member of the Watkins Mill High School basketball team for ladies. And she's been benched basically the entire time, like this last game of the season, even when the game was well out of reach of the rest of the reserves. And, you know, every other player was sent on the court. And that's because right before the game, an official at the regional final informed the coach that Hayes would not be allowed to play because of her hijab, despite the fact that she played in every other game this season without issue. The official cited a rarely enforced rule, in quotes, that requires documented evidence for a player to wear head coverings during the game for religious reasons.
Wow, really?
So, yeah.
Well, rarely enforced because that's something that would rarely come up.
Rarely enforced because
Nobody else gives a shit.
And if it did come up, it'd be Jewish men. And you're not going to say a Jew can't play because of his yarmulke.
Yeah.
Not unless you want 10,000 lawyers coming down on you.
Yeah,
Oh, you racist.
exactly.
Oh, man. I worked with a doctor
Jewish
once
lawyers.
who was Jewish.
Uh-huh.
And then he finally talked about his brothers. And
Are
his
they all lawyers?
one was a lawyer and one worked in Hollywood.
As an agent? lawyer?
No, he wasn't a lawyer. He worked Hollywood, which there's the whole idea that Hollywood's run by Jews. He was one of them. But yeah, a Jewish doctor, a lawyer, and a Hollywood guy. And then I had to ask him, and is your mom really overbearing? And he's like, yeah.
You just totally pulled I have a friend that's black story. And it was still pretty amusing.
Well, his family was the stereotype.
It does.
Yeah, and I think he was also an atheist too, so
that also fits the stereotype.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could get Joshy on here again because oh boy. It's probably about time.
Absolutely.
But Jews aren't the point here, it's Muslims.
So basically the Council on American Islamic Relations, it's CARE, is advocating for the rule to be changed completely and is currently working with others to get that changed. So here's for hoping. But Hayes, of course, definitely felt discriminated against, and
sounds to me it was just the one guy.
Fucking rightly so.
Sounds to me like it was just the one guy that nobody else cared until that last game.
Pretty much. I mean,
like I shouldn't be allowed to be there then.
Yeah, maybe she was a good player and they wanted to take her out of the game.
Or more likely it was just bigotry.
Yeah, probably.
Either bigotry or somebody who was way too much of a stickler for the rules. Like I remember one story I heard years back when a girl got onto a boys' high school baseball team. And she qualified. Nobody had any problem with her being on the team.
Cool.
But then it came to the issue of her uniform. She had to wear a jockstrap. Because that was required. A jockstrap and a cup were a required part of the uniform. Like, this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but
they worked out an accommodation so that she had some slightly supportive and protective undergarment. And then she was allowed to play. But that was somebody who was being way too much of a stickler for the rules.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't just like hand her a pair of balled up socks and just like, here, put this in there.
Whereas this story here, it's
adjusted every 10 minutes.
It's far more likely that this was just flat out anti-Muslim bigotry.
I'm laughing at my own jokes.
Yeah, it does sound, to me, it sounded blatantly like this person had it out for Muslims. And this is just one way to overpower somebody who couldn't fight back. A little girl, basically.
Luckily, though, Janan, like I said, she's a junior, and she definitely plans on coming back and fucking shit up as a senior. So
okay, so not a little girl. Young woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I support that. I totally support hijab day, where women all over the world wear hijabs.
I want to wear hijab.
In solidarity. You'd need the whole face cover one.
Hey, I'm not that ugly. Fuck you.
Only because it's traditional.
In what country?
Saudi something.
One of those countries over there. Oh my god!
No, it was an ugly joke. It was sorry.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to back to evangelicals.
Oh boy!
The Reverend Russell Moore is the president of the Southern Baptist Convention's policy group, with responsibility for such activities as lobbying the government.
Boo! By the way,
any large organization is going to have somebody in charge of lobbying.
I know, it's just a Christian lobbyist.
So big churches have them. Atheist groups have them. I'm sure the Unitarians have them. Yeah.
Yeah, but they still have like shitty tasting potlucks.
But
they're delicious.
During last year's presidential campaign, he openly opposed Trump and criticized evangelical leaders who supported him. And now there's churches that will be withholding funds from his budget. And a lot of people are thinking that he may be out of a job.
Yeah, that's what happens when you fall on the wrong side of history.
That's what happens when you talk shit about Trump.
Or here's another issue. All of this could have been avoided if they'd all just followed the Johnson Amendment.
Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, don't talk about a candidate. That would be, well, what they're supposed to do.
If you are,
because that's how they keep their tax exempt status.
And these were ministers using their pulpit to promote or oppose political candidates. Tax exempt organizations can't do that.
Man, think about how much we could pay off in the deficit if we just tax these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And girls.
Now that Trump's in office.
Not going to happen now, but yeah. This is... Well, good for him for opposing Trump.
Yeah, as a Baptist even.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's honestly a little surprising.
Unfortunately, he didn't see the writing on the wall.
Wah, wah.
Idioms!
Or he did, and his convictions were too strong.
Yeah. And he's like, you know what, job or not, this is the right thing to do, even though it wasn't.
Yeah, even though it was illegal.
God. So even defending the guy, I'm still like, nope, you still did something wrong, though. You're on the right side, but much. You're still a shithead.
Oh, he didn't support Hillary.
Doesn't matter.
He wasn't supporting any candidate, but he was actively against Trump.
Well, does that fall on the job?
I wasn't anybody but Trump person. I still voted for Hillary, but I wasn't anybody but Trump.
Yeah, this Moore was anti-Hillary, but even more so anti-Trump.
Yeah, but fucking Green Party, that's not getting any
So
shit,
he probably voted for Gary Johnson, would be my guess.
Oh, God.
But as far as people not liking Trump...
There's lots.
Wesley?
Yes?
As far as people not liking Trump...
That was a segue.
Segueing to you with...
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Wow, what a handoff, guys.
With editing, it will look flawless.
Don't leave it. It was great.
You know, Paul Ryan's one of those. During the election cycle, he was actually on a recorded phone call to a whole bunch of people, and apparently Breitbart recorded this.
Oh.
Paul Ryan saying that I won't defend Trump ever. He went on to say this in a couple of different versions, but essentially, I won't ever. I won't defend Trump. Not now. Not in the future. So, yeah, apparently these words are really starting to come to bite him in the ass because Breitbart released this, and this actually might be a little conspiracy theory here between Bannon and Breitbart trying to destabilize Paul Ryan's
absolutely.
lack of healthcare bill.
Why else would they hold on to this for so long?
Why wouldn't they? This is beautiful blackmail.
Because they have their opportunity.
They have their opportunity. Paul Ryan is pushing a very unpopular bill that liberals and conservatives alike hate equally. And
for way different reasons, though.
Right, for very different reasons.
Democrats saying it doesn't go far enough, and the ultra-conservatives calling it Obamacare 2.0, saying that they shouldn't have any influence like this.
Well, they're obviously wrong.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll talk about state issues.
Yay.
We love hearing from our listeners. You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us at atheistnomads, send us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/atheistnomads, or better yet, call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice.
I sure do wish somebody would leave a voicemail.
We got one.
That has me gasping.
So, Idaho still doesn't have a bill to address child deaths due to faith healing.
Not needed.
Hey, jumping in here from editing. Since we recorded, the Idaho State Legislature has introduced 2 bills, neither of which actually do anything to solve the problem. They just make it easier for judges to intervene in the case that a child is being neglected, but it doesn't actually allow for any prosecution in the event of a child's death because of faith healing, doesn't require any reporting. These bills would not help with the problem at all. They are shitty and terrible and horrible. So, despite that, everything else we had to say in the segment fits. So, back to yesterday. And if somebody were to finally put one in, it would still need to get a print hearing and then go through committee and then go to the House or the floor of the House or Senate and then do the same thing in the other chamber. And they've got 2 weeks to do it. And the last couple of weeks is always just doing the bare minimum they can to keep out of court or to keep all of the the federal monies
so
coming in.
Much time in session.
And
I'm rolling my eyes so hard right now.
They have to finish all of that and also pass the budget so they can go back to their farms or their retirements or their law practices.
That's what I was going to say. So they can plant their crops or
pay somebody else to
or some shit.
Till one of their hundreds of thousands of acres.
Yeah, and since Idaho has a part-time legislature that gets $20,000 a year, and most of them have to spend most of that on rent in an apartment in Boise. They need to get back to work, to their regular job, or getting campaign contributions.
Or just be a normal person and fucking live in Boise and then, actually earn a paycheck.
Idaho is actually a little too big for that. People in eastern Idaho tend to want to stay in eastern Idaho and only travel over to Boise during the session because, there's just a big enough difference in population there that they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, northern Idaho as well. Idaho may not be all that big of a state as far as the West goes, but it's really long.
But we're oddly shaped.
Yeah. Idaho's the refuse that was left over by Oregon Territory.
We've got that.
Yeah, like, hey, do you want that part over there? Nah.
That was the Panhandle.
Washington, do you want that neck up there?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yep. Idaho is basically defined as what's not Oregon or Washington from what used to be Oregon Territory. That's it. Okay, so Texas. In the interest of preventing an act against an unborn child that fails to preserve the sanctity of life, Texas State Representative Jessica Farrar of Houston has proposed a bill that would, wait for it, fine men $100 for unregulated masturbatory emissions, require them to get digital rectal exams prior to a vasectomy, colonoscopy, or a prescription for Viagra, and require the state to produce an illustrated booklet that would be given to men called A Man's Right to Know.
Oh my God, I love it.
I love her. Yeah, this is funny.
It is. And this pops up every couple of years. Somebody will do this. And it doesn't help, but it does get funnier every time.
So long as they're doing it to women, I have no problem with them doing it to men. Especially for the Viagra.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got this from a movie. I forget which one. But basically, if you can't get wood by the normal means, then why are you taking a pill? You shouldn't, because God doesn't want you to.
Well, I mean, okay.
Obviously.
I know some people who have medical reasons that they can't.
Nope. If God meant you to have a woody, he would let you.
But
Yep.
Get it natural or not at all.
And if you can't get one because of nerve damage in Iraq, well, God willed it.
Sorry. Yep. God willed that IED to hit you in the junk.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
But yeah, this bill is hilarious, and these need to keep happening.
Yep.
None of them are ever going to
burn
pass.
It all down.
But if they at least shut up the anti-women bills for the year in that state, that's a win.
Yeah, but they already have a parody bill of this that's already in place against women.
Well,
so
the original bill this is parodying is in place.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, there is parody already on the books against women,
right?
Just like this.
They just they're hoping that this will bring enough shame, maybe enough guilt that they won't pass it.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, it was passed,
that's not going to happen.
It was passed 4 years ago.
Oh, never mind.
It's on the books.
It doesn't matter. We'll burn it down.
But every year, Texas keeps on trying to restrict abortion more and more, and half the time they can actually get it through court.
Yeah.
So now they get to deal with this bill.
Yeah, and explain it away. Why
I would love to hear the explanations.
Yeah, I would too, because I got
quoting
no
it
reason
as
why
an
you shouldn't.
obvious parody doesn't count. You have to actually give solid evidence as to why this is not a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Wesley, you got a couple on North Carolina's infamous HB2.
Well, in a roundabout way, yeah. Pat McCrory, you might remember him as the former governor of North Carolina. You know, the poor guy, he's crying alligator tears now.
Are there alligators in North Carolina?
Definitely.
Whoa.
Ever since he, got voted out and lost his job, well, basically, people are kind of wary about hiring him. Go figure. They don't want an asshole working for him because, it might look bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Pat actually says that's not our American system. That's not the way our American system should operate, having people purged due to political thought. Me personally, I say that's exactly how it should work, Pat. If we don't agree with you, we are not forced to associate with you.
Mm-hmm.
Most people in North Carolina either do not agree with your old HB1 bathroom bill or do not want to associate with you, even if they do agree with you, because they know it would be bad for their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the way, the protection clause of the freedom of speech and stuff only applies to government action. If you say something and the civilian finds it offensive or doesn't like it, they can act as they will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on to a little bit of happier news. The new guy in that position, Governor Cooper, said that HB2 is the dark cloud hanging over our state of promise. Seriously, though, Cooper is looking to repeal the fuck out of HB2 very, very soon.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't even know which way Mr. Cooper leans, if he's a little R or a little D, but
D.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, good for him. Means that he might not be as much of a asshole.
Yeah, North Carolina. North Carolina's the failed democracy that is so gerrymandered that they can elect a Democrat governor while Republicans have a supermajority in the legislature.
Huh.
Yeah, he won't get squat done.
No, not until the courts throw out their districting.
Boy, that would sure be nice.
Should just burn it to the ground.
Because, Lauren,
sorry,
arson is not the answer.
Metaphorically?
Yeah, it's not the answer.
Okay.
No,
not metaphorically.
Lauren,
you have to actually burn it to the ground.
And burning it to the ground.
But no, this is like to actually fix it. They're going to need to get enough people. Well, actually, if they have referendum and initiative, they need to get a ballot initiative to force a independent commission to do the gerrymandering. So that way Republicans can't ensure that they will forever have a supermajority, no matter how small of a percentage of the population they are. And then they might actually have a chance of being a state of promise.
Well, here's for hoping.
Mm-hmm. And Lauren, there's a study that you wanted to talk about.
Great study that came out. So, the headline is hilarious. Atheists at risk of dying out due to belief in contraception, claims the study. Because religious people are having more babies.
Okay.
Now, the study is supported by evidence that shows that atheists do tend to have less children. And what just blows my mind is that must equal them dying out. Which, if that were true, there wouldn't be any atheists. Because they would have already taken care of that problem. And if it is true, then I think we just found our solution to overpopulation and lack of resources. Having less babies. Yeah, so It was just a funny little study that I saw, a funny headline that I saw, and reading into it is like, this isn't supported by anything.
Well, there was actually one that came out a few months back that was predicting atheism to decline over the next 50 years as Islam and Christianity both continue to grow, with Islam being projected to beat out Christianity here pretty soon. And they were looking solely at birth rates.
Yeah, I don't think they're counting babies, but they're not counting how many people are just gonna like not believe or come out as atheists later.
Exactly. So this study kind of has this assumption that atheism is a family tradition, where if you have atheist parents, you're going to have atheist children, and so on and so forth.
Or that,
but that's not the case.
Like the Catholic Church, though. It's just like the Catholics, that once a Catholic, always a Catholic.
Now,
obviously,
if you have atheist parents, you are more likely to be an atheist yourself. Drastically more likely.
Most people don't have atheist parents.
Most atheists have religious parents.
They come out of it themselves. They come out of the religious background. So that doesn't make any sense in correlate with this study. And so that's why it was just kind of a what? I posted it on the Facebook page to get some comments, and that's what pretty much everybody else came to the same conclusion.
Now, the one thing that I think these viewpoints might possibly have something on is if it is true that atheism is a predominantly white thing around the world, then that might be true because white people are having far fewer babies than non-white people worldwide.
Yeah, but then
I really don't think it's a white thing. I think it's an education thing.
Yeah,
it's education and wealth.
The more people
and wealth.
Yeah. But the more that people go to school, have access to higher learning, I think the more people will be non-believers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's great in here is a quote from one of the researchers. So here just shows how biased it actually is. It is ironical that effective birth control methods were developed primarily by secularists, and that these methods are serving to slowly diminish the proportional representation of secularists in forthcoming generations. So
basically we're killing ourselves.
So these guys went into it basically looking for how is atheists have less children. Well, they're going to breed themselves out of existence.
Wow.
No.
It's basically a ha-ha.
That's not how it works at all. Sorry, study people.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And just not the case.
And keeping with talking about children, Traditions Jewish Gifts has wonderful children's presents for Passover this year, including the 10 Plagues finger puppet kit and the 10 Plagues masks. So this year, good little Jewish boys and girls can wear the mask of the death of the firstborn.
Nice.
Sure. That's a thing.
I'm looking at these Passover gifts, and I actually think I have some. My mom gave me, for Easter one year, the 10 Plagues. So there's a cricket, and there's... it's hilarious. It's great stuff. But, the mask is disturbing.
We didn't get weird shit like this, I'll be honest.
My mom's weird. What can I say? I love her.
All right. And Wesley, what's Steve King think coming our way?
Oh, God. This guy's a fucking garbage fire.
Burning.
Seriously. This little bug-eyed freak is just... What the fuck? I believe he's been taking either lessons from Steve Bannon or Bannon's been taking them from him. But apparently, they're both just weird POS racists. And they have a love of this book I talked about, I believe, a couple of weeks ago called Camp of the Saints. And, Steve actually thinks that, I should clarify that, say that Steve King, the rep from Iowa, believes that Hispanic and black people are going to outnumber white people very soon in the U.S., and they're going to start killing each other, fighting and having a race war between the two groups. And that somehow, luckily, well, us noble white people will somehow take our rightful place as we ought to, as leaders of the great United States again. Because,
wow,
I don't even have something for that.
It's propaganda. It's crazy.
But well, I mean, this weird little French book, The Camp of the Saints, I don't think you were on for that one. It's this book from 1975, French author, saying that
it's Bannon's
there was
Bible.
a bunch of... It is. Saying, that there was about 100,000 Indian people that wanted to immigrate to France. And the leader of this group was actually called Shit Eater, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Because he would literally eat shit. And that, all these people were like evil wastes of space. And the hero of the story actually helped kill a lot of them. These sad, poor immigrants that were coming. Yeah, so that was the hero of the story.
Wow.
It's a good bedtime story.
Yeah, totally. Steve King doubled down. He actually talked to Breitbart, I believe it was today, Tuesday, and said Western civilization is a superior civilization. So, sure, yeah. I'm sure their little Nazi fascist listeners lap that up, but fucking come on, what the fuck?
Now, there was talk a while ago, quite a while back, about a couple decades ago, that there was going to be horrible violence between blacks and Hispanics as they vied for who was going to be the largest minority group. And that happened in the 90s.
Yeah, that's not what all the gang wars were about.
A lot of the big gang fights could have been about that. It also could have just been drugs.
It was just
more
drugs.
likely it was just drugs. But if that was going to have happened, it happened. And now Hispanics are the second largest minority in the U.S. that is firmly established. That isn't going to be changing anytime soon.
I mean, seriously, this is just racist propaganda bullshit. That's all it is.
Even if blacks and Hispanics have 4 times as many children as whites, it'll take a century for them to overtake whites as the majority group in the U.S.
Nah.
And these guys are talking about it's going to be next year.
I just don't care. I mean,
I just don't care.
Yeah.
Trite bullshit.
You know what? Yeah. So what if we're all brown in a few years? Of course, my grandmother would wholeheartedly disagree.
Well, and that is some of the reason why that is why they are freaking out. It was 2 years ago, for the first time, there were more non-white babies born in the U.S. than white babies.
Oh my God.
They're all stupid.
Who cares?
Big deal.
Snot-covered germ bag babies. Doesn't matter what color skin they are.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how Iowa can keep on electing this guy.
Because it's Iowa. And they don't have enough. I don't know why.
Apparently, he's really responsive to his constituents. I'm supposing only the white ones, really, but
yeah,
I doubt that there's many people of any sort of non-white in his district.
Iowa, unless he's in Des Moines.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to make a joke about white corn, but I felt I couldn't come up with one.
Yeah, well, they all look the same.
And taste delicious with butter.
All right, let's take our last break and then move on to feedback.
Need a little salt, too.
As a listener of the show, I'm going to assume you love my sexy vocal stylings. If you love the rest of the show as much as my voice, consider giving us the resources we desperately need to purchase quality cocaine and Red Bull. We make it super easy to make a one-time donation or to support us on a per-episode, monthly, or even annual basis using PayPal or Patreon. Find out more at atheistnomads.com. Use the links on the right side of the page. $1 an episode is all we ask.
You know, I've really gotten into the mayonnaise and chili pepper. I've tried that. That was really good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mexican style.
The sweetness of the corn totally like cancels out this hotness of the chili pepper. You can't even taste it.
I thought we were still talking about white people.
That might work too.
We weren't?
All right. Let's go ahead and start off with our voicemail from Jonathan.
Hey guys, it's Jonathan. When you're listening, I was listening to the episode about the Mormon end of days, and it reminded me of some of the rumblings I have down here in southern Utah is that there might be threat of civil war. And I think part of it has to do with the whole end of days preparation, having that 3 years worth of supply of food, water, drink, and the whole nine, orange drink. But I think that it's also possible that in the event of such civil war, that Utah probably will turn into its own little country. And that the relocating to Missouri or wherever, I would think would end up being a lot less likely. But imagining the Zion state is a lot more possible in my book. So just something to consider, thinking in that aspect. Anyhow, like the show. Thanks, guys. Bye.
I consider that every time I drive east across Idaho, and how when they secede, they will at least try to take eastern Idaho.
You know, the only thing I got out of that was the orange drink. I had serious flashbacks.
What, Tang?
No,
I
not.
fucking love Tang.
It's not Tang. Tang's the premium stuff. It's just orange.
Oh, you're talking about bug juice?
Orange drink. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never
orange
known
drink.
it as anything else. And we used to have
I think
it
that's
by
the
the
stuff
gallons.
we called it bug juice.
I think
Yeah, bug juice,
during
totally.
family reunions. Oh my God, we'd get a huge cooler full of it. It was always like kind of tepid. Oh, it's awful.
Wow.
Well,
Thanks for that flashback,
You know what?
Jonathan.
I'm fine with having the U.S. version of Lesotho. Lesotho.
I don't know what that
I
is.
always
Little country.
That is the country inside of South Africa.
Aww.
There is actually a country inside of a country.
Then we could burn it to the ground.
No.
No, it's Bryce Canyons and all those pretty places. Never
Oh,
mind.
you mean Utah? Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fine. I thought you were talking about
we can burn
Lesotho.
Utah to the
no,
ground.
I got no beef with them.
No.
Yeah, they Lesotho actually. This isn't a history podcast, so yeah, let's not go into.
Do not get him started. More
No,
feedback.
Come on.
But
Say a little
okay,
bit.
so it was it was an African kingdom that actually got protectorate status from the British, and it was surrounded by all of these British and Dutch colonies, and Lesotho and Swaziland ended up being two of the areas that were never actually conquered by the British.
Never absorbed into the empire.
They were, but as protectorates. And so when the Union of South Africa formed, they opted not to join.
Can't blame them.
And so they eventually got their freedom from Britain directly. And yeah, that's why they're not part of South Africa.
But I know that Swaziland actually shares a border with Mozambique.
Yes.
So they're not completely swallowed
Yeah.
inside of another country.
Well, Lesotho is a enclave. And not the only
Yeah,
enclave.
It's just fucking weird.
I told you not to get him started.
Most of them are in Europe, but there's 3 in Italy.
Feedback.
Yes. Okay. Feedback. But that also helps explain the difference between why Adventists focus on learning survival skills so that you can live off the land while you're fleeing the government, whereas Mormons are getting ready to hide in their bunker. It's Mormons are going to fight. Adventists have at least historically been pacifists.
Run away!
So they're wussies.
So they would run while the Mormons will fight. Yeah. Okay. I got it.
All right.
From Kenny Boy via YouTube. Well, to be honest, a lot of liberals believe this too. Global warming, mass war, and death and destruction because people are being racist or sexist. LOL. I'm not exactly sure what he was referring to with that, but
basically that once pushed in a corner, liberals will fight just like Republicans would too.
And they do on a regular basis.
I think that liberals generally fight more with words, and they're afraid of guns in general.
I will challenge you to a debate.
And if you look at how...
I, however, like my guns.
What's funny, though, is you look at how Democrats and Republicans handle countries that are behaving badly. Democrats will bomb them until they
from
decide
a distance
to play.
They don't want to get dirty.
If that doesn't work, then they'll send in special forces and then stop. And Republicans will send in the infantry.
Well, I mean, Obama did keep it going. You know, the ground war.
Well, he wrapped up the ground war in...
like years later.
Yeah, it took a few years.
And naturally, it would take a few years.
In Libya, it was Air Force only. And our involvement in Syria and Iraq more recently has been air power and special ops, not large-scale ground invasion. James Newdroid via YouTube.
Sweet name.
Manitowoc? You are in Manitowoc?
What the fuck is a Manitowoc?
I had to Google it. It's a city in Wisconsin.
Oh.
That's awesome.
No, we aren't in Manitowoc.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Lauren and I are in Boise.
That's
Tacoma.
Boise,
which is in Idaho, and what? Yeah,
which
Wesley's
is not
in,
the one with corn. It's the one with the potatoes.
and Wesley's in Tacoma, which is a city in Washington, the state of Washington.
DC.
Not to be confused with Tacoma Park, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, we didn't make this easy.
Yeah. And from Katie Dotson, who I unfortunately lost part of her comment because when I deleted the episode and reposted it, it also deleted it from YouTube and deleted her comment. But I got part of it in the email. And I think it's probably the best part. But Katie, if you have more to say, please let us know again. Send us an email. That's the safest way. A Chihuahua is not a real dog. It's a pocket piranha. I have a Chihuahua Jack Russell mix, which is a pocket piranha on steroids. His name is Charlie Barker, a.k.a. Little Fucker. So that's it for feedback. No new supporters, but we love new patrons. We love our existing patrons as well. But
I was going to say, aw.
We always love getting new patrons. And
it's always exciting to see a new name.
Yeah, yep. And to have the dollar amount go up.
We really, really like that because this is becoming an expensive hobby.
Well, this year, actually, no. All the spending I've done this year was started with $100 extra money that came in from a consulting job, and then I've been selling stuff to fund more stuff. So
yes.
It's been free.
You keep telling yourself that.
It's been effectively free.
Okay.
And I've made sure I've spent less than each amount of money that came in each time. So, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, last year we trended downward on money that was coming in. This year we are trending up, and we'd like to see that trend continue. And so that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with more news.
All right. Woo!
Remember, not all those who wander are lost.
Chihuahuas are awesome.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/atheistnomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.